Good morning. This is the most important drawing lesson so far. If it was a swimming lesson, we'd be letting go of the side of the pool. Watch the video. Welcome back. Today we are going to do a little bit of a combination of all of the lessons, and we're going to combine it in the most important lesson so far. Okay, so in the earlier lessons you've learned about drawing circles and drawing squares and shading circles and shading squares, and about kind of having certain shapes, circles and squares and things like that, and putting them together. So once you start to recognize the shapes in objects, for example, if you were to see, I think we used the example of a cat. If you see a cat, you can basically work out a circle for a head and a circle for a bottom, and a long kind of sausage for a tail, and two little triangles for ears, little triangle for nose. And once you start to do that, once you start to pick up this this realization of shapes, then drawing becomes much more easy and much more understanding. And for some of those examples, we will do how to use these shapes and how to understand them and how to break them into slightly different dimensions and different characters. And today I'm going to kind of basically take, for example, if we were to do the same type of structure that we had with our goat before, where we had a circle and we had a dome, and basically what we had is we had two simple legs and then a big dome for feet. Now within that, I also taught you about how to have a circle for a head and a circle for a nose and circles for eyes. And once you have the cross of dimensions, you can actually start to change the character and the proportions of the face. So what we're going to try to do here today is we're going to start to break down a different character in exactly the same way that we did with the goat, a goat and a tiger and a few of the other things. And first of all, thank you for everybody that sent me in all your drawings. They were pretty incredible. So many people have gone through and watched the video and done drawing and sent it in to me on Facebook. And we had a bit of a collection there. It was absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for that. And it's very good to also see that those little aspects that I was breaking down into about the face and about the dimensions of the face and things like that actually all made sense. And it was just so good to see people that hadn't drawn in years suddenly becoming a little artist and putting all these details together, drawing a cat in a suit or a hare in a suit with big feet and long ears, and fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So today, if we're going to try and break down this character, let's get another sheet of paper. And what we'll try and do is for example, if we were to think about this as an elephant, and you would think, okay, well, let's try and make this character or these shapes into an elephant, and you would start to break things down. Well, he doesn't have the same nose as a cat. He doesn't have the same nose as a man. So what we would start to think about, what is that shape and how can we break that shape down? And we might start with the base of the nose, and then we would think, what shape is the nose? How can we break that shape down? And if we were to think about the end of the nose, the trunk of an elephant, and we were to put a smaller circle, then what we might be able to do is we might be able to join those two lines, and we would basically have an elephant's trunk. Now, all we're doing here is we're looking at that shape and thinking, well, how could I construct that? You know, if I had little balls of clay and how could I actually construct the shape that I'm about to draw? And we need to start to simplify things down as simple as possible. So if we start to think about having a head and we start to add the nose. So we add another circle on here, and that's going to be right in the middle. If we start to actually bring those lines down to a smaller circle, we already have some of the elements of the shape of the elephant. This is really important, that you can start to see these basic shapes. Now if we put a little eye on there, and we were to put some lines down his trunk, it already starts to be a very clear symbol of an elephant. So then we start to break down some of the other difficulties that we have. Ears. Well, an elephant's ears, what kind of shape are they? And we need to look at them. We need to kind of analyze what is the closest shape. And if we were to draw a box, for example, and maybe we were to trim off a little bit of it, take that off and that off and that off, what we actually have is a shape that's very similar to an elephant's ear. And that's a very good base. And at this point, I'm really trying to keep you to stick with the basics and the basics of a shape. And once you have the basics all put down into place, you can start to adjust it. Sorry, they're doing some work next door, so you'll hear some noise. So if we add the two ears on in that shape, and we have a very clear idea of what kind of animal that we're starting to build. Now, if you think about this structure of an ear, it's not like our ear. It's a little bit more soft. It's a little bit more kind of bendy. So that you can also put that into your drawing if you can kind of. So we also have to have some kind of tusks. Elephants have these tusks. And the closest thing for the shape of a tusk would be some kind of base going to a point. So we might be able to do some kind of triangle of some sort. So maybe we got a long triangle. And that is the first kind of shapes that come into my mind. So if I was to bend, put a little bit of a curve in that, it might look like a tusk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my triangle on. And now we have the basics of an elephant. Now, if you look at this structure, you can think about the feet, and you would think, well, an elephant doesn't have such skinny legs. So the way to do that is to then take the leg and to thicken it up so that we have a much thicker leg than we had before previously with the goat. And that already is starting to, if you can see, taking the head and putting the head on top. In fact, if I was to even fold that piece of paper and put that on top, it's already beginning to look like an elephant. And that's the very, very basics of our shape. And now, once we have it at this stage, we have all those other lessons that we did in lesson 2. We did about shading. So you could put some shading on the elephant. You could put some shading down one side of the elephant. And you could give him a kind of a three-dimensional kind of feeling. The same for the feet and for the legs. And that would kind of give him some kind of shadow. And that's a very basic form, but this is the very, very building blocks of what we're trying to do. And now we have all these circles, we have all these squares, we know how to build these. We can start to build any animal that we feel, or any person that we feel. And with our cross on our head, we can basically do any proportion and any extremities of any face that we could think of. We could have a very low eyebrow, we could have a very high eyebrow. And that's what we're going to start to try and build into this. Now, expression. We could do some raised eyebrows and make him look like a very surprised elephant. We could give him a big smile and make him look like a happy elephant. So these very, very basic things has taken us from being able to be a very basic person that owns a pencil to somebody who's quite brilliant about putting a structure together. Okay? So let's just try that. Let's just try to put some of these details down, and we'll draw a very big elephant. I'll probably draw it in this brush pen. Okay, there you go. It's just a simple brush pen that I bought. Nothing special about it. You can use a pencil. So we'll put that down there if it's still in. And what we will do is, to begin with, I will draw a very basic shape. I'll draw a circle, and I will draw a big circle on top, a big dome, sorry. And I'm going to make it quite a wide dome. Now, just to remind you, we have a circle and a dome for the body, and we have almost this type of shape for the ears, and we have this long rectangle for the legs. And that is all the elements that we need for this entire drawing. We do not need anything else. And if you get a little bit difficult, a little bit struggled, just stick to the basic shape. Once you have the basic shapes down, then you can go back in and you can add a little bit more detail to just the ear. For example, the ear. The ear is like this, and you want to have a little bit of an inner line to the ear. You want this line to be a little bit more wobbly. You want some little creases in the ear, and you have the ear, and you have all that detail. The same if you're drawing the eye. If you've got a little something like that, you could probably do an eyelid on top so that you have an eye like this. And you could have little wrinkles underneath it, make him look like an old elephant. All these little details that we're just putting in at this point. So we're going to have a go at drawing this lovely big elephant. And we're going to try to keep it in a very simplified form as we described. Okay? So what we shall do is we shall start with our circle. And we're just going to roughly draw in our circle. And you can start to think about what you would like to add to your face. What kind of expression would you like? A happy elephant? A sad elephant? An angry elephant? What would we like? And we can go back to lesson 3 where we talked about all those things about expressions. And you can start to look at the way the expressions were. And instead of having a circular nose, we're going to give him a big long nose. All the other elements of that lesson are exactly the same. Okay? So let's try this. So we're going to draw another circle here. Nice and light. And we're going to draw a long... Well, let's just put a little bit of a wiggle in that nose, that trunk, just to kind of give it a little bit of a more realistic kind of feel to it, and a little circle at the end. And we're just joining those lines up. Just instead of just going straight, we just have a little bit of a wobble on it. Okay, so here's where we start. So we're going to start drawing with the nose, and we're going to start to draw a nice big line there. And above that, in the center, about there, I want to put some eyes. Now, what kind of elephant are we going to have? We're going to have an angry elephant? We're going to have a happy elephant? Or are we going to have a sleepy elephant? All of these, we can go back to lesson 3, look at some of those expressions, and then bring it back into this lesson. If we want to add some shading, go back to lesson 1 and bring it forward. But all of this is now, we've learned all those lessons. We're just letting go of the side of the pull. And we're just going to find our way. We're going to build our confidence, okay? So we're going to build some eyes. Let's give him an angry elephant. Let's give him a big Big angry elephant. Okay, let's give him some big angry eyebrows that are coming down like this. And that's just like a big kind of line that's cutting down like that. And then we're going to put a big eye underneath that. Ooh. Big round eye. You can imagine that's going to be a big ball. And we'll put a couple of lines underneath it just to kind of show all of his kind of anger and stress building up there. He's angry. Someone's eating his last donut or something, you know. He's got this anger. Right. And we're going to just do exactly the same on the other side. And we're going to build that round. And then we're going to add the eyeball, which is exactly the same. It's going to be a big circular. And we're going to add those little lines of stress and anger underneath. Right, so that's a good start. We already have the eyes, basically building a ball with cutting the line through the top. And we're going to put in a big staring eye there. That's going to be, and then inside that, you remember our lesson from before where we do an inside that we're going to color in black, and we put a little highlight in there, and then we just color that in. Okay, you remember from lesson 3, I think. And we're going to color that in. I'm so sorry about all the noise next door. And there we have a big kind of angry elephant eye, and he's staring at us. Who ate my donut? Fabulous. And we'll do the same on the other side. We'll put in our little highlight. Let's just take that line up, because I made a little bit of a mistake there. I colored the whole thing in, didn't I? Silly boy. But we can fix it. In these lessons, nothing is wrong. We can just fix anything. We can, you know, this is just about having fun. And if it doesn't work and we make a mistake, we work around it. So there we are. We're just coloring that eye in so it looks nice and black. Fabulous. So he's a very big staring elephant. And we're going to do just some very loose lines down his nose like that, just to kind of make all the kind of wrinkles, just like a zigzag line. And then we're going to take the side and we're going to draw that all the way down. There you go. And I'm just using a biro here just so that it's a little bit darker for you to see. And then we can bring that line down. That's the other side of the nose. Fantastic. Now an elephant has it like a kind of like a hand, like this type of thing at the end. So we're just going to draw an out and back in like that, almost like 2 fingers feeling. So we're going to go out and bring it back, and then out and then bring it back. Nice and simple. Look at that. And that's the elephant's nose. Now we were talking about those kind of triangles for his tusks. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the side of the nose, side of the trunk, and we're just going to bring those lines out like that. And we've got these 2 big tusks. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just bringing those kind of triangle shapes out. And what we have is an elephant who's looking rather angry with some tusks. Now let's just draw a little bit at the top of his head there. And we could even give him a little bit of hair. Shall we give him some hair? A little bit, just a little spiky kind of, like a little kind of stubbly haircut. We can just do a couple of lines in there just to show that he's got this little, and we'll put another line in here just to kind of make him extra angry. Okay, and what we can do from here is we're going to draw these ears. You remember what we did? We're just going to do this type of shape, almost slightly square shaping, and we're going to bring it out. Bring that inner line that we decided to do here. So there you are. And we're going to bring that out. Bring that round. That's his face. And we're going to do a nice kind of wobbly line coming down. And that will be our ear. You can do a couple of little lines like that just to kind of make it look a little bit floppy and a little bit thin. And then we'll do another one on this side. Bring the line out. And then we'll bring some wobbly lines down. And then we'll bring our ears into the body, into the head, and we'll draw a couple of lines here. Now that's basically most of our angry elephant already. Now what we can do is we could add like a little, if we put a little circle there, and it would just kind of give us this feeling that he's got a very angry expression. And we can give him some teeth. We know how to draw teeth. They're just little square lines like that. And that's him. Arr. Okay. So that's most of our elephant done. So we're going to try and bring that round. That's the top of his back, like we did with the goat. Now we have to think a little bit here. We have to think about his arms, because his arms aren't going to be thin. Now I suggest we get another piece of paper. This is a great place to practice doing your, let's just use this. If you can just do an ellipse like this, like a squashed egg almost, and if you bring it down and you add another ellipse at the bottom, and that is basically going to be what our elephant's legs are going to be. They're going to be these thick, heavy chunks. Now you can make slightly wider at the bottom, so we'll make that so this line comes down and it goes out, so it looks a little bit wider. So that's the kind of what the elephant's leg is going to look like. Now elephants have these big toenails, not like our little things, but they have these big chunky toenails, and they're just a little dome. And we know domes, we put domes on the bottom, the body, we've put domes on the feet. So we're just going to draw a couple of dome shapes like that. You can put a couple of lines in it to make it look like, and if we put them in here, 1, 2, 3. There you go. And you can put a couple of little lines in there to make it look, and just put a little line above it so it looks like it's a little bit of a wrinkle like you have on your, and that is the shape that we're going to draw 4 of them. 2 arms and 2 legs. Now basically, because of this shape, it's a new introduction of a shape, it's kind of like a toilet roll. Now if you to think about drawing the arm maybe pointing out like this or pointing up, you could basically do the same thing. Draw your ellipse, and ellipses are great things to draw. If you go draw an ellipse, it's like expanding your shapes hugely for drawing animals. And we are going to bring that back, and we're going to bring, it's going to slightly wider like we explained here. And we're going to bring that all the way back, and we don't need to draw the inside like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add on the toenails. 1, 2, 3. Put our little wrinkles above. Now if we want to get really fancy, we could do this kind of elbow type of pattern. And now the thing with an elbow pattern is actually really quite simple. All it really is just like this. Jump, 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 right, round in circle, like bum, 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 like that. That's all it is. And it looks so much like an elbow. So if I put it on here, and I go like this, it will start to make it look like a wrinkle on the elbow. And it'll make him look more and more elephant-like. So, we've had that little lesson. So, let's put one arm coming down. So we're going to come down, and we're going to draw an ellipse there. We're going to draw our big foot. And then the next one, we will have it coming out a little bit. There's our ellipse. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, and our little highlights at the top. And here comes the fancy bit. Are you ready? There we go. That's his little kind of elbow. And this arm, I want one arm to be down, but I want the other arm to be up a little bit angry, like pointing out something. So let's do that. So let's have the ellipse here, and we will draw our angry arm coming out with our ellipse. And the ellipse is basically like the bottom of the feet. You know, you could shade that in a little bit if you wish. 1, 2, 3. And we're doing our little highlight. A little wrinkle up there. And then we're going to bring this arm back in towards the body. We'll do our little wrinkle like that. And now we've got a very angry looking elephant. We bring his body down, bring his body down there. And that is the exciting part, because most of it is now done. Now, what we can do is we have this dome shape here, but what we could do is we could just draw a little line about right in the middle, so it makes him look like his belly. Okay, and then we're going to draw the same as we did with the arm, and we're going to put it on here as the feet. Okay, so we're going to bring it down. I'm going to add a big ellipse here for the feet. And now that we have an ellipse and a circle and a square and a triangle, we can basically start to draw almost everything on the planet. Okay, so here's where it comes in. We're going to do our toenail. 1, 2, 3. A little line above, little line above, little line above, and then our little. And then we have the other leg coming down. We just do a little rough guideline so we know where the foot is going to be. And we're going to draw our big ellipse. And we'll bring in our leg. And we're going to bring that around. Fantastic, look at that. Then we're going to do our 3 toes. 1, 2, 3. A little bit of on top, little line on top, and then we're going to do our big elbow there, our big knee. Okay, so we could add a little tail, couldn't we? Now, an elephant's got a long, thin tail, like a stick. And at the end of it, there's like a big rough puff of hair. So what we'll do is we'll just add it on here. We'll just do a little line like that. And then we'll draw some hair like that. And there we have an angry elephant. And it's only using those very basic shapes that we've been talking around for all of those lessons. Now we can do it with a brush. We can go in and we can add a nice kind of line to the whole thing and make it all very pretty and clean. But all the shapes that we used for this, you know. And every lesson that we did to draw this elephant is a lesson that we've been working on. Now, if you start to get to the point where you're starting to realize that the cat was circles and triangles, and you're starting to realize that the elephant and the goat was also circles, then you can start to think, well, what else could I draw? What else could I look at and break down into very simple shapes? We drew a tiger, we drew a goat, we drew a cat, we've drawn an elephant. What about if you drew a dog? Could you break it down into those basic shapes? And from those basic shapes, with some of those lessons from 1 to 8, I think this is lesson 9, I think. And already we can draw almost anything. And if you send me in if you can't draw a dog or something, send me a message and then we'll sit and we'll draw a dog together. And what I'm doing is I'm just making some of the lines a little bit more kind of pretty with the brush. And you can do that with your pen if you've drawn it in pencil, and you could draw it in pen on top. Make it nice and pretty and then put some color on it. And when I've done this, what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of shadow on it. And we'll see from lesson 1 or lesson 2 how much it will add to the character. Now this already is starting to feel like it's a complete drawing. And for those people that are on the very basics, I'm hoping that this will give you so much confidence. It will give you so much confidence by breaking every single step of every single drawing down into a basic shape. Like even with our toenails here were just like a little dome, and we used the dome for the body. So how incredible is that? I'm going to take that big line down there all the way down. We'll draw the other. Draw a little dome. Draw a little dome. And once you've done this a few times, you will start to find that you can draw it very, very, very simply. And you will find that some of those shapes you will start to reuse into other characters. In the same way that we did with the hair and we put a jacket on him, we could do the same thing here with the elephant. We could put a jacket on him, make him look more. We could put a necktie on it. We could put a top hat on him. We did a top hat on the man. So you know how to draw a top hat. So now you could draw your elephant any way you want. So just draw these last toenails in, and you've got a finished drawing. Now this, I hope, is going to start to give you so much confidence that you can basically draw an elephant and a goat and a tiger, and all you needed to learn was circles, ellipse, squares, triangles, and that's it. A couple of domes. So what becomes really, really exciting is that when you start to look through those lessons, and there's only 8 lessons so far, and already I've had so many people sending me in their drawings saying, look what I did, look what I did, look what I did. I drew that hair, I drew the hair. That's incredible. That's incredible. You haven't drawn in 30 years and all of a sudden you can draw, or you've just started drawing and you're at school and you've never drawn anything before, but you want to. Now, if you were to take a pencil or something like that, you could do some shading. So, we want a little bit of shading on the elephant, so you can put a little bit. Our light is going to be over here. Remember, we have to indicate for ourselves where the light is coming from, which is in that direction. So everything on the opposite side, so we can basically quite happily. Now you can put this light on there at the beginning just to kind of remind yourself, oh, where's the light coming from? Oh, it's there. Where's the light coming from? Oh, here it is. But once you've kind of finished shading your elephant in, then you can just erase it. Now you see this leg's going to be slightly different because the light is coming from the other side. And there we're starting to get a very, very, very nice pattern. That everything on this side of the drawing has got a shadow. Even the tusk has got a shadow. Maybe even this side of the tusk has got a shadow. You know? Maybe even this side of his leg has got a shadow. And what this is doing is it's bringing some of the lessons that we did in lesson 1 and 2, which are basic shadings and using light, and they're starting to add these onto our character that we've done. And we've done our character building up from lessons 3 and 4, and we've added our expression from lesson 3 also. So this is quite incredible. Now there was a little trick there I was telling you before about, sometimes with your shading. You can just take a piece of kitchen roll and you can fold it and fold it and fold it until you get to a little bit of a point. And what you can do is you can use that, just put your finger on top of it and you can move it around and just gently rub it, just gently. And what you will do is you will start to have a beautifully shaded, almost three-dimensional looking elephant. And this took us only a couple of minutes. Look, it's going to get a little bit dirty, so don't worry about it. And we just rub it ever so gently, and we rub all the pencil into it. And that is really starting to look like a much more three-dimensional character. So for all you people that are beginning to draw, I hope you're going to use some of these little tricks and tips to make your elephant look like a three-dimensional elephant and impress somebody with it. Take it over and show them and say, look how I did my elephant. And now sometimes you can see, like here, it's slightly gone over the line with the shading. Well, all we need then is an eraser and we can just clean that up. So for example, like here, you can just use the eraser and that will clean all that up. Any edge that doesn't look, it's quite easy to just gently rub it around, clean it up. A little bit on the foot. And we have a very beautiful, very clean elephant. Maybe we can just darken his tail as well. And again, from lessons before, we can put, if the light is coming down there, we can add a little bit of a drop shadow, which is down on the ground. And we can put a little bit of a shadow down on the ground. And it will make our elephant look like he's standing there, and there's a light shining from one side and giving a shadow on the ground. When you can use our piece of paper again, our little towel, and just rub it very, very gently, and that will give us a very light, very soft shadow. Now you can go and buy these kind of like shading sticks, and it's like a pencil made out of like paper, and you can use them to rub, but they're quite expensive for what they are. And you could just use a bit of kitchen roll. Take it off your mum's stand. I'm sure she won't mind. Ask first. Yes, of course. And there we have a three-dimensional angry elephant. Using only the basic circle, square, ellipse, and a kind of long triangle for his tusks. That's it. And we've done all of that. And I think that's a really good feeling for that. You can start to put some paint on it, you can put some color on it, and once you've got the basics from it, you've basically got a beautiful drawing that you can paint up and show your friends. Now, one thing I just want to, when I did the eye earlier on, I did a little bit of a mistake. And when you do the eye, you have a ball, and inside the ball you have another ball, and inside that ball you have a much smaller ball, and that's usually at the top. Okay, and you put that in there. Okay, you put a little ball at the top, and then you shade all this in black, and that's going to be the middle of your eye. And this will be the side, and this will be where you put your eyelid on, and your little lines underneath, and that will be your eye. Okay, I made it too big in that one. And if you use your little thing and just do a little bit of a, ever so gently rub it on the side, you will get a lovely kind of 3D feeling with your eye. Look at that, lovely. So today is lesson 9, and what we've basically done is we've taken all of the lessons and we've pushed it into this one lesson. So today you have a new character to draw, and I hope you're going to have fun. Now, surprise me with this one, okay? You can put a suit on him, you can put a bikini on him, you can put a top hat on him, you can do whatever you wish. You can make a happy elephant, an angry elephant, a sad elephant, whatever you wish, but stick with the basics. And the main basics I'm trying to explain is because if you have, at the moment, you're drawing a circle, the main reason for that is to give you guidance, so that if you want to have a long tube, if you draw another circle, then you know roughly where it's going to be. And if you have a head and you're drawing a circle, then it's quite easy to know then where you're going to put everything else. So by having these guidelines makes everything much easier. And that will be somewhere when you start to get a little bit more complicated lessons, and that's when you really need to know about the circles. For example, if we did a head, and we wanted to draw a man. We want to draw a man from the side so we can see his nose sticking out. And there's his long, thin nose. And his neck is going to be about here. And his chin is going to be coming down from the circle. We'll have a nice, thin head. And we will draw a line across there. So that's going to be where his eyes are and his ears are. So we can do his ears for his cartoon. Now, where this becomes really, really important is the circle becomes like your skull. It becomes your bones. It becomes the part that gives you something to hang all the meat onto, all the muscles onto. So if we have somebody there and he's nice and skinny, with having these circles and things like that, where it actually gets to be really good fun is you draw the same head, the same kind of skull, and maybe this man is a little bit more, well, you know, he likes a little bit more pies and donuts and things like that. And we wanted to have him a much bigger man. Well, you can still have your neck there, but you can take this line that's nice and thin and you can kind of bring it out. And what you're basically doing is you're giving us a much bigger shape to play with. And it's all based on the same circle. So this is the man before 27 donuts and this is the man after. And you can give him a bigger nose to match. And this gives you such a strength then to build your character. And you can put your excuse me. You can put your man and put his neck. And you can start to then build your character. And this is a fantastic way to start to build shapes, and you can do that again with your elephant and your sheep and your tiger, and you can start to do this thing with the dimensions and everything else. So this is why I always use a circle. It's a great thing to use, and if you want to use it the other way, then you can start to do something that's kind of giving you the face from the other way, from the front view. The same there with our guiding line, and we can put our eye on here and our nose, which our nose will be about here. Let's just have a look at that. Our nose is going to be here. Just remove that. And that is the same face with the same proportions. Look at that. We've got his head on that same circle, and we can bring that all the way down, and we can going to give him a little smile, and that would be our man. And by having this circle, constantly this circle, building everything on circles, building the joints with a circle, everything will become easier and easier, and we'll go on to further lessons with that. For this moment, for today, we have drawn a very beautiful elephant, and I hope you're proud of it, and I hope you go on and draw some more. Draw a few of these and go back and look at the lessons and see where some things you haven't understood or anything that's been difficult. Go back and see it. If you have any questions, send me a question, and if you have any drawings to show me, send me the drawings. Okay, I would love to see them. I'd love to see how you're progressing, see how these basic lessons are starting to help you, see how these basic lessons are starting to get you into habits of drawing circles and shapes to build your characters onto. And this is something that we'll get much more into later on, but for now, today we have a beautiful elephant, and I hope you enjoy drawing it. If you haven't already subscribed, I really appreciate you do. Thank you for today, and enjoy drawing an elephant, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.